The screen door slammed behind Ryan like a gunshot in the still Kansas night, the echo chasing him down the gravel path as his backpack thudded against his spine with every frantic step. "You're not my son anymore," his mother's voice cracked through the darkness, raw and venomous. The words she'd hurled like stones finally breaking something inside him that had held too long. He didn't look back. Couldn't, because the porch light flickered on, illuminating the manila envelope she'd waved like a flag of surrender, stuffed with brochures for conversion camps that promised to fix what her God-fearing heart couldn't abide. 17 years of small-town secrets unraveled in that moment. The air thick with the scent of rain-soaked earth and the faint, acrid tang of her cigarette burning out on the railing. Ryan's grandparents' old Ford pickup sat dark in the driveway, its bumper sticker, "Love Wins." A cruel irony now that the woman who'd birthed him had decided love was a sin she wouldn't house. He'd always known this day might come. The whispers in Sunday school about boys like him. The sideways glances when he'd linger too long watching the quarterback at Friday night lights. But knowing and surviving were worlds apart, and as his sneakers pounded the county road toward the highway, the weight of it all pressed down like the summer humidity that never quite lifted in Olathe. The taillights of semis blurred past on I-35, each one a fleeting hope as Ryan thumbed a ride from a trucker named Earl who smelled of diesel and regret. Running from something or to something. Earl grunted over the CB radio static. Ryan stared out at the endless black ribbon of asphalt snaking south, the dashboard glow casting shadows on his face that made him look older, harder. "Both," he muttered, the truth slipping out before he could cage it. Earl nodded, didn't pry, just popped in a cassette of Springsteen and let Thunder Road fill the cab with its desperate ache. By dawn, they'd crossed into Oklahoma, and Ryan stepped out at a Greyhound station in Tulsa, $20 lighter but freer than he'd ever been. He bought a ticket to Austin. Why Austin? The word had stuck from a dog-eared copy of the Laramie Project his grandma had slipped him last Christmas, hidden between the pages of her Bible study notes. "Texas is big enough for dreams," she'd whispered, her arthritic hands squeezing his with a fierceness that said she knew, had always known. Grandpa Joe, with his gravelly laugh and stories of hauling hay in the Dust Bowl, had celebrated every inch of Ryan's queerness without a word, teaching him to fix engines, to square dance at county fairs, to love fiercely without apology. They were the anchors in a life where his mother, Ellen, had drifted like smoke, more ghosts than parents since Dad walked out when Ryan was 5. In Austin, the heat hit like a fever dream, the city pulsing with live music spilling from 6th Street bars, and the faint twang of guitars carried on the breeze. Ryan crashed at a youth hostel near the university, bunking with backpackers who shared stories of hostels in Prague and hikes through the Appalachians. He lied about his age, said he was 19 starting community college, and no one questioned the shadows under his eyes or the way he flinched at loud voices. Days blurred into shifts at a coffee shop called Brewed Awakening, slinging lattes to hungover undergrads and tipsy tourists, the steam from the espresso machine a veil for his unraveling thoughts. It was there, on a Tuesday afternoon when the monsoon rains turned the streets into rivers, that he met Joseph. The bell above the door tinkled, and in walked a guy who looked like he'd stepped out of a faded Polaroid. Tall, lanky, with sun-bleached curls that fell just so over wire-rimmed glasses, and a messenger bag slung across his chest emblazoned with a faded human rights campaign pin. He ordered a black coffee, no frills, and when Ryan handed it over, their fingers brushed, sending a spark that had nothing to do with static electricity. "Storm's a beast out there," Joseph said, his voice warm like aged bourbon, eyes crinkling at the corners in a way that made Ryan's chest tighten. Texas drawl, soft around the edges, with a hint of something city-bred underneath. Maybe Dallas, Ryan guessed, or Houston. "You got a name for this brew? Feels like it could wake the dead." "Ryan," he replied, forcing a grin despite the knot in his gut. "And it's just coffee. But if it brings you back, that's a win." "Joseph," the guy shot back, leaning on the counter like they had all the time in the world. "And I'll take that bet. See you around, Ryan." He vanished into the downpour, but the promise lingered, a thread pulling Ryan through the slog of closing up shop. That night, as thunder rattled the hostel's thin walls, Ryan lay awake tracing the ceiling cracks, wondering if this was what freedom felt like. Terrifying, electric, alive. Weeks turned to months, Austin weaving its chaotic magic around him. Joseph became a fixture, drifting in after lectures at UT, his poli-sci major rants about gerrymandering and queer history spilling over the counter like confessions. They talked for hours after Ryan's shifts, wandering Barton Springs at dusk where the spring-fed pool glowed emerald under the cypress trees. Joseph was 22, out since 16, raised in a sprawling suburb where his Baptist parents had disowned him over Thanksgiving turkey, but he'd clawed his way to scholarships and activism circles that felt like family. "You're brave, you know that?" Joseph said one evening, their feet dangling in the cool water, fireflies winking like distant stars. "Most guys your age are still pretending." Ryan shrugged, the water lapping at his calves, hiding the tremor in his hands. "Brave or stupid? My mom, she found out, tried to send me away. I bolted before she could." Joseph's hand found his under the surface, a quiet anchor. "That's not stupid. That's survival. And hey, Texas welcomes runaways. Got room in my apartment if the hostel's cramping your style." The offer hung there, simple as that, and Ryan took it, trading bunk beds for a lumpy futon in Joseph's one-bedroom off Congress Avenue. Posters of Audre Lorde and Harvey Milk taped the walls, and the kitchen always smelled of chili simmering on the stove. Joseph's grandma's recipe, adapted vegan because why not make the world kinder, one bean at a time? It was domestic in a way that scared Ryan. The ease of shared silences over morning coffee, the brush of shoulders in the narrow hallway that sent his heart skittering. But shadows followed. Letters from home piled up unopened in his backpack. Ellen's scrawl pleading then accusing, then silent. A call from Grandma one night, voice cracking over the line. "She's praying for you, baby. Says the devil's got hold. But we know better. Come home when you're ready." Grandpa's rumble in the background. "Tell that boy we're proud. Always." Ryan choked on the words, promising soon. Knowing the farm in Olathe felt like another life. Joseph never pushed, but his eyes saw everything. The nightmares that jerked Ryan awake, sweat-soaked and gasping. The way he'd freeze at slurs tossed like litter by frat boys on the drag. Instead, he pulled Ryan into his world. Volunteer shifts at the LGBTQ Center, where story slams turned pain into poetry. Pride parades that painted the streets rainbow, a riot of flags and feathers that drowned out the doubt. One night, under the glow of string lights at a queer open mic, Joseph read a piece about lost boys finding their way, his voice steady as he glanced at Ryan in the front row. The snap of fingers' applause felt like absolution, yet doubt crept in like humidity before a storm. Ryan caught Joseph scrolling through Grindr one late night, the glow illuminating his face in blues and pinks, and something twisted sharp in his chest. Not jealousy, exactly, but fear. "Just browsing," Joseph murmured, closing the app quick. "You're the one I want here." Ryan nodded, but the seed took root. Was he enough? A runaway kid with baggage heavier than his duffel, against Joseph's polished edges, internships at advocacy groups, a thesis on Stonewall's echoes in modern marriage equality. Their first kiss happened tentative, on the futon during a thunderstorm, Joseph's lips soft and questioning, tasting of mint and rain. It deepened slow, hands mapping shoulders and jawlines, breaths mingling until the world narrowed to just them. No rush, no fire, just a quiet blooming that made Ryan believe, for the first time, in something lasting. Fall painted Austin in golds and rusts, the live oaks shedding leaves like confetti for the changing season. But Ryan's world tilted toward winter early. It started with a phone call from an unknown number, the screen lighting up during a shift at the coffee shop. He ignored it, but the voicemail waited like a landmine. Ellen's voice, thinner now, edged with something brittle. "Ryan, it's Mom. Your grandparents. They're gone. Car accident on the turnpike. Come home, please." The cup he was steaming slipped from his fingers, shattering on the tile in a spray of foam and porcelain. Customers glanced up, but Ryan was already out the back door, gulping air that tasted like exhaust and grief. Joseph found him there an hour later, curled against the brick wall, knees to chest as sobs racked him silent. "Hey, hey," Joseph whispered, dropping to his knees, arms enveloping him without question. "Breathe with me. In out. I've got you." They drove north that night, Joseph's old Civic rattling over potholes, the dashboard saints. A Virgin of Guadalupe sticker peeling at the edges, watching over them like silent guardians. Ryan stared out at the flatlands blurring by, memories unspooling like film reels. Grandpa's calloused hands teaching him to bait a hook at the creek. The way he'd wink when Ryan asked about the special friend in his war stories from Nam. Grandma's hugs that smelled of lavender and fresh bread. Her secret stash of Ellen episodes taped because that degenerate girl's got spunk. They'd celebrated him. His first crush scribbled in a journal. The rainbow bracelet he'd forged from wire in shop class. With nods and knowing smiles, never sermons. The funeral was a blur of khakis and casseroles in the Lutheran church basement. Olathe's finest murmuring condolences laced with pity for the troubled boy who'd vanished. Ellen stood apart, her face a mask of powder and pain, eyes red-rimmed but avoiding his. "You should have been here," she hissed when the crowd thinned, her grip on his arm bruising. "They waited for you." "I was building a life," Ryan shot back, voice low to spare the ants hovering nearby. "One you tried to burn down." Her lip trembled, the envelope of brochures peeking from her purse like a ghost. "I was saving you. From hell." Joseph, ever the shield, stepped between them, hand firm on Ryan's shoulder. "Mrs. Harlan, we're here to grieve, not fight." Ryan loved them fierce. "Let that be enough." She recoiled as if slapped, gaze flicking to Joseph's earring, the subtle pride flag patch on his jacket. "And who's this? Your influence." The word hung poisonous, and Ryan felt the old fracture lines spiderweb his heart. But Joseph just smiled, sad and steady. "I'm the man who loves your son, ma'am. Lucky me." Back in Austin, the apartment felt hollow, echoes of laughter replaced by the tick of the clock marking days without grandparents' calls. Ryan withdrew, shifts doubling at brood awakening to drown the quiet, but Joseph pulled him back with stubborn gentleness. Movie nights with Brokeback Mountain reruns, debates over takeout pho about whether Ennis and Jack could have made it in today's America. "They would have had us," Joseph said, tracing Ryan's knuckles with his thumb. Pride flags on every porch. One evening, as December's chill nipped at the windows, Joseph sprang a surprise. Tickets to a holiday market downtown, booths aglow with twinkling lights and the sizzle of tamales. They wandered hand in hand, the crowd a buffer against the world's sharp edges, Joseph's curls tickling Ryan's temple as they shared a funnel cake dusted with powdered sugar. "Remember that first rain?" Joseph murmured, licking sweetness from his lip. "Felt like fate dumping on us." Ryan laughed, the sound rusty but real. "More like karma for my shitty pour on your coffee." A street musician strummed Hallelujah on a battered guitar, the notes weaving through the throng, and Joseph tugged Ryan into a slow sway, right there amid the strangers. Bodies pressed close, Joseph's heartbeat syncing with his own. And for a stolen moment, grief loosened its grip. "I love you," Joseph whispered against his ear, the words a vow wrapped in melody. "I love you too," Ryan breathed, meaning it deeper than breath. The admission a bridge over the chasm his mother's words had carved. But bridges crack under weight, and winter brought storms of a different kind. Joseph's internship at Lambda Legal demanded late nights, case files spilling across the kitchen table like battle plans for civil rights skirmishes. Ryan supported it, cheering over microwave burritos, proofreading briefs with his high school English chops. But envy simmered low, a quiet theft of time. Then came the letter, forwarded from the old address. An acceptance to UT Austin's creative writing program, partial scholarship, start date spring semester. "You could do this," Joseph said, eyes alight as he waved the envelope. "Write your story. Hell, we'd save on gas." Ryan stared at the paper, possibilities blooming like bluebonnets in spring. But doubt whispered, "Runaway kid, not college boy. What if you fail? What if it's not enough?" He enrolled anyway, the campus a maze of lecture halls and quad frisbee games. His first class a seminar on narrative voice where the prof, a wiry woman with a buzz cut and tattooed forearms, challenged them. Stories aren't escapes, they're reckonings. There, Ryan met Theo, a transfer from NYU with cheekbones sharp as his wit and a laugh that cut through awkward silences. Theo was out and loud. Drag nights at the campus center his church, and he latched onto Ryan like a brother lost at sea. Study sessions stretched into all-nighters at Kirby Lane, debating Whitman and Baldwin over queso, Theo's knee bumping Ryan's under the table in easy camaraderie. Joseph welcomed him, the three of them forming a tripod against the world's wobbles. Movie marathons, tailgates for Longhorn games where they'd chant, "Hook 'em," with painted faces. Yet cracks formed. Theo's stories of New York hookups, casual and glittering, made Ryan's skin itch with comparison. Joseph's absences grew, conference calls with DC lawyers bleeding into weekends, leaving Ryan and Theo to fill the voids with late-night confessions. "You're holding back," Theo said one night, as they sprawled on the apartment floor amid empty beer cans. Joseph's duffel packed for a weekend advocacy trip. "With Joe, with class. Like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop." Ryan toyed with a guitar pick, Joseph's from a Dylan cover band gig. "Maybe it will. Mom called again. Wants to talk. Says she's changed." Theo snorted, rolling onto his side. "Moms like that don't change, they rebrand. You gonna go?" The question lingered as Ryan drove to Olathe alone, the highway a ribbon of regret under gray skies. Ellen met him at a diner off the interstate, her hair grayer, hands twisting a napkin into knots. "I found Jesus again," she started, eyes pleading. "Real Jesus, not the one I twisted. Therapy, too. I was wrong, Ryan. About the camps, about you." He wanted to believe, the little boy in him aching for the mother who'd baked mud pies in the backyard before Dad left. They talked haltingly, her loneliness, his grandparents' letters praising his city boy glow. And for a fragile hour, it felt like mending. "Come for Easter," she said as he rose to leave. "Bring your friend. We'll try." Driving south, Ryan called Joseph, voice thick. "She apologized. Thinks she can do better." Joseph's paws stretched, static crackling. "That's huge. You believe her?" "Not yet, but maybe." Spring unfurled with dogwoods blooming along Lady Bird Lake, and Ryan's stories took shape. Vignettes of farm life laced with unspoken longings, read aloud in seminar to nods and Theo's fierce applause. Joseph returned from trips with trinkets. A keychain from the Equality March in D.C., a dog-eared copy of Fun Home inscribed, "For my storyteller." Their love deepened in quiet ways. Lazy Sundays with pancakes and This American Life podcasts. Joseph's head in Ryan's lap as he napped off jet lag. Easter loomed, a test wrapped in pastel eggs. Ryan invited Joseph, nerves jangling like keys in his pocket. "It might suck," he warned over breakfast, syrup dripping from his fork. Joseph grinned, stealing a bite. "Suck or shine, we're in it together. That's the deal." The Harlan family Easter unfolded under a sky bruised with thunderheads. The Kansas wind whipping daffodils flat against the gravesite where Grandpa and Grandma lay side by side, their headstone etched with "Together in Eternity." Ryan stood with Joseph at the wrought iron gate of the cemetery, the bouquet of lilies wilting in his grip, Ellen approaching from her old caprice with steps hesitant as a fawn's. "You came?" she said, voice small, pulling Ryan into a hug that smelled of aqua net and apology. Joseph hung back, offering a nod that was polite steel. "Ma'am." The drive to the farmhouse, now Ellen's alone, its wraparound porch sagging under vines, passed in stilted chatter about traffic and the Royals' dismal season. Inside, the table groaned with ham and deviled eggs, aunts and cousins orbiting like wary moons. Their blessings murmured over plates with glances that skimmed Joseph's collar like he might scorch the linen. "So, Joseph," Aunt Marlene ventured, passing the rolls. "What line of work you in? Ranchin?" "Advocacy," he replied, fork pausing midair. "Fighting for folks like Ryan to live free." Silence fell thick as gravy, broken only by the tick of the cuckoo clock. Ellen's fork clattered, her smile brittle. "Pass the peas, dear." After dinner, as rain pattered the tin roof, Ryan and Joseph escaped to the barn. the air heavy with hay and motor oil. Grandpa's tools hung in neat rows, ghosts of lessons past. "This place," Ryan said, leaning against a tractor tire. "It's where I first knew I was different, watching the hands flirt with the cook, thinking it was just friendship." Joseph traced a finger along a wrench's curve. "And now it's home and hurt, all tangled." He pulled Joseph close, foreheads touching. The kiss that followed tasting of salt and storm. Thunder rolled distant, a drumbeat to their heartbeats. Ellen found them there, silhouetted in the doorway, her gasp slicing the air. "In my father's barn? Have you no shame?" Joseph stepped forward, calm as lake water. "Shame's what drove him away once, Mrs. Harlan. We're just loving honest." She clutched the doorframe, tears carving tracks through mascara. "I invited you to heal, not parade." Ryan's temper flared, hot and unbidden. "Parade? This is us, Mom. Not a show. If you can't see that, we're gone." The ultimatum hung, and Ellen deflated, sinking onto a hay bale. "I try. Therapy helps, but the church. They say it's a choice. That I failed you." "It's not failure," Joseph said softly, kneeling to her level. "It's human. Ryan's proof. Love wins when we let it." They left at dusk, the wipers slashing rain from the windshield. Ellen's waved from the porch a fragile white flag. "That was brave," Joseph murmured, hand on Ryan's thigh as they merged onto the interstate. "Was it enough?" Ryan whispered, the highway lights streaking like tears. Back in Austin, summer scorched the sidewalks, cicadas droning anthems to the heat. Ryan's writing bloomed, his thesis advisor praising the raw authenticity of his coming-out memoir draft. Pages filled with Olathe sunsets and Austin neon. Theo threw a launch party in his off-campus shotgun house. Fairy lights strung like stars, guests spilling onto the lawn with IPAs and ukuleles. Joseph manned the grill, flipping veggie burgers with theatrical flair, while Ryan read excerpts, voice steady until the line about running. The road wasn't freedom. It was the first step toward it. Applause erupted, Theo whooping loudest, but later, as bottles clinked in toasts, Ryan caught Joseph in deep conversation with a colleague from Lambda, a sharp-dressed woman named Carla who laughed at his jokes with eyes that lingered. Jealousy flickered, irrational and hot, but Ryan swallowed it, joining them with a fresh round. Nights cooled with ceiling fans whirring, bodies entwined in sheets soft from too many washes. Joseph's touches were reverent, mapping collarbones and hip bones with lips that whispered poetry. Prue lines, original verses penned in margins of legal pads. "You're my anchor," he'd say, breath warm against Ryan's neck. And in those moments, doubt dissolved like sugar in tea. But fall brought fissures. Joseph's thesis defense loomed, a beast demanding weekends in the library, and Ryan's own deadlines pressed, words flowing then stalling like a clogged drain. Theo became the glue, their trio tighter, study breaks at Torchy's Tacos, belting show tunes in the car to UT games. One night, after a brutal critique in seminar, Ryan vented to Theo over late-night Whataburger, the drive-through glow haloing his friend's sympathetic frown. "Prof said my voice is too Midwestern earnest. Like that's a sin." Theo squeezed his hand across the console, thumb stroking knuckles. "It's your strength, Ree. Own it." The touch lingered, electric in the dashboard light, and Ryan pulled away slow, heart hammering. Guilt gnawed on the drive home, Joseph's Civic a confessional. He confessed nothing, but the silence stretched taut. The betrayal brewed subtle, a pot left too long on simmer. Carla's name cropped up more. Networking drinks, Joseph called them, returning with flushed cheeks and tales of Capitol Hill gossip. Ryan nodded, supportive, but Theo's warnings echoed. "Watch the ones who shine too bright. They burn out or burn you." Then came the weekend in D.C., Joseph's firm footing the bill for a marriage equality symposium. "Come if you can swing it," he urged, packing suits into his rollerboard. "Be my plus one." Classes chained Ryan down, a group project deadline unyielding. "Next time," he promised, kissing him at the airport curb, the kiss fierce with unspoken fears. Theo filled the void, crashing movie nights with Call Me by Your Name and homemade gelato. His presence a bomb. You're glowing without him, Theo teased one evening, sprawled on the futon as Lady Bird flickered on screen. Independence suits you. The words warmed, and when Theo leaned in, lips brushing Ryan's in question, the world tilted. Ryan kissed back, brief and bewildered, pulling away with a gasp. Shit, Theo, I can't. Joseph. Theo's face crumpled, then hardened. He doesn't see you, Ree. Not like I do. Those drinks with Carla? I overheard at the center. She's got him wrapped. The accusation landed like a sucker punch, but Ryan shoved it down, sending Joseph a good luck text that went unread till morning. Days blurred, Joseph's posts on Instagram, symposium selfies with Carla's arm slung casual over his shoulder, fueling the fire. When he returned, tanned and tired, Ryan confronted him in the kitchen, voice cracking. What's with Carla? Theo says. Joseph's eyes widened, hurt flashing. Theo? Spilling what? This work, Ryan. Nothing more. Looks cozy for nothing. The words escaped, venomous. Joseph recoiled, bag dropping with a thud. Jealous? After everything? I flew across states for you, and you listened to gossip. The fight escalated, voices rising over the sizzle of forgotten toast, accusations flying like shrapnel. Ryan's withdrawal, Joseph's absences, Theo's shadow lurking unspoken. Maybe we need space, Joseph said finally, voice hollow, grabbing keys. Figure this out. He crashed at a friend's, the apartment echoing with absence. Ryan turned to Theo, desperate for solidity, but the kiss replayed in guilty loops. Calls to Ellen went to voicemail, her I'm trying a lifeline he couldn't grasp. Nights dissolved into whiskey and white pages, words bleeding onto paper. Betrayal isn't a door slam. It's the slow creak of trust splintering. October's chill settled over Austin like a shroud, the pecan trees dropping nuts that cracked underfoot like brittle bones. Ryan wandered the apartment alone, Joseph's half of the closet a void of empty hangers, the fridge stocked with his favorites. Blueberries, almond milk. Mocking the silence. Theo texted apologies. Didn't mean to stir shit. Here if you need. Ryan deleted it, the betrayal a mirror held to his own fractured reflection. He threw himself into writing, the memoir swelling with chapters on flight and forgiveness. But the prof's red ink circled unresolved tension like a diagnosis. Dig deeper, she urged in office hours, her coffee mug steaming between them. What's the cost of running? Not just from her, but from him? The question haunted as Ryan drove to the coast, needing the Gulf's vastness to swallow his small hurts. Galveston beaches stretched gray under overcast skies, waves gnashing at the shore like unsatisfied hunger. He walked the pier, salt spray stinging eyes already raw from unshed tears, phone buzzing with Joseph's missed calls. Finally, he answered, wind whipping his words. Where are you? Missing you. Joseph's voice cracked over the line, faint with road noise. Can we talk? In person. They met at a taqueria off I-35, the kind with plastic chairs and neon Corona signs buzzing like fireflies. Joseph looked wrecked, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes ringed dark, sliding a basket of chips across the table like an olive branch. I screwed up. The distance, Carla, it's nothing, but I let it look like everything. And you, shutting me out after Easter. It hurt. Ryan picked at a chip, salt bitter on his tongue. You were gone so much. Felt like I was loving a ghost. Joseph reached across, fingers lacing tentative. Then let's haunt each other proper. No more space, just us, building. Forgiveness came slow, a thaw after freeze, but they rebuilt with deliberate care. Date nights at the Alamo Drafthouse, quoting moonlight lines over buttery popcorn. Weekend hikes in the hill country, where bluebonnets nodded approval to their whispered vows. Theo faded to acquaintance, his party skipped for quiet evenings in, the trio's fracture a lesson in boundaries. Winter holidays approached, and Ellen's invitation arrived like a hesitant dove. Thanksgiving at the farm, with or without drama. Ryan showed it to Joseph over pumpkin spice lattes, steam curling between them. Think we can? Joseph sipped, thoughtful. Only if it's on our terms. No closets, no judgments. They went, the drive north a gauntlet of flatlands and frayed nerves. Ellen greeted them with pie still warm from the oven. Her hug for Ryan lingering, then extending awkward to Joseph. "Welcome," she murmured, the word a bridge beam laid careful. Dinner unfolded civil. Aunts tiptoeing around politics. Cousins quizzing Joseph on Austin's hippie scene. As plates cleared, Ellen pulled Ryan aside to the sunroom, moth-eaten quilts draped over wicker. "I've been reading," she confessed, sliding a book across. "God and the Gay Christian. It's hard, but I see you now. Proud, even." Tears pricked, and Ryan pulled her close, the embrace a dam breaking. "That's all I needed." Joseph watched from the doorway, smile soft, and later, as they drove south under star-pricked skies, he squeezed Ryan's hand. "Healing's messy, but damn, it's beautiful." Spring semester surged, Ryan's portfolio earning a spot in the university lit mag, pages bound with his name in bold. Launch night at Book People buzzed with intellectuals and undergrads. Theo in the crowd offering a nod from afar. Peace, tentative. Joseph read a dedication aloud. To Ryan, who ran toward light. The room hushed, then erupted, and backstage. Their kiss tasted of champagne and triumph. But joy's shadow is doubt, and Joseph's job offer landed like a thunderclap. A full-time role at the ACLU in San Francisco, starting fall. "It's a dream," he said over dinner at Franklin Barbecue. Brisket steaming between them. Bay Area's queer mecca. "We could go," Ryan finished, fork still. "Together." Joseph's eyes pleaded. "If you want. UT has extensions or transfers. You're writing, it's portable." The word portable stuck like a thorn. Ryan's life in Austin a tapestry woven tight. The coffee shop's familiar hiss, Theo's distant laugh, Ellen's evolving calls laced with questions about recipes, not repentance. San Francisco glittered in brochures. Golden Gate fog, Castro rainbows, but uprooting again? The runaway in him recoiled. "I need time," he said, the meal ashes in his mouth. Weeks stretched taut, Joseph house hunting virtually. Ryan submitting stories to journals that rejected with polite "not quite." Fights flared minor, over dishes, over Joseph's packing lists. Escalating to silences that echoed louder than shouts. "You're choosing comfort over us?" Joseph accused one night, suitcase half-zipped on the bed. "I'm choosing me." Ryan shot back, voice breaking. "After running once, I can't just bolt again." The chasm widened, Joseph's departure a deadline etched in calendar red. Last night together, they made love slow, bodies a map of memories, Joseph's tears wetting Ryan's shoulder. "This isn't goodbye," he whispered. "It's see you soon." Morning came gray, airport drop-off a ritual of restraint. Ryan watched the plane climb, a silver bird vanishing into clouds, then drove home to an apartment half-empty, Joseph's scent fading from pillows. Summer solstice brought heat waves and hollows. Ryan subletting Joseph's room to a quiet grad student named Mia. Her ukulele strums a poor substitute for his harmonies. Ellen visited, tentative road trip south, the two of them touring the capital's rotunda. Her awe at the murals a balm. "Your grandparents would have loved this," she said, hand on his arm. "Proud doesn't cover it." Theo reemerged, coffee catch-ups evolving to jam sessions where his guitar wove with Ryan's borrowed bass. "You okay?" Theo asked one afternoon, as they buskied on South Congress for spare change, tourists tossing bills into his hat. "Getting there," Ryan admitted, plucking a riff from Wonderwall. Joseph texts, "Wants me to visit." Theo's strum faltered. And I miss him, but California's a world away." Fall leaves turned, and Ryan's decision crystallized in an acceptance letter. From an MFA program at UT, full ride, starting January. He called Joseph from the quad, oaks whispering overhead. "I'm staying, building here." Silence stretched, then Joseph's voice, thick. "I get it. Love you enough to let you." The goodbye call came weeks later, plane tickets and used, words kind but final. We grew into different shapes, Joseph said. But you'll always be my first story. Ryan hung up, chest caving, and walked to Barton Springs alone, the water-cold shock against skin. He swam laps till muscles burned, surfacing to stars pricking the night, grief a tide pulling him under then buoying him up. November's chill etched frost on Austin's windows, the city hunkering down as election cycles churned national nerves raw. Ryan threw himself into the MFA workshops dissecting his memoir like surgeons with scalpels. Each critique a scar turned strength. Your voice sings of resilience, one peer noted, and for the first time, Ryan believed it. Not as bravado but bone-deep truth. Ellen called more, her voice softening over lines crackling with distance. Sent you a quilt, she announced one crisp morning, as Ryan sipped coffee on the balcony, steam mingling with his breath. Grandma's pattern. For your new place. The apartment, now his solo lease, walls repainted sage green, felt less echoey with her packages arriving. Jars of rhubarb jam, clippings from the Olathe News about the high school's first GSA club. You're doing this? Ryan asked, unfolding the quilt's folds, threads of crimson and gold weaving stories. Trying, she echoed, a laugh bubbling tentative. Church groups reading that book together. Some folks left, but lights creeping in. Pride swelled, mingled with ache. Grandparents' absence a hollow in holidays, but Ellen's evolution a graft taking root. They planned Christmas, her flying south for tamales and It's a Wonderful Life marathons. Joseph a ghost in group chats now polite and sparse. Theo became constant, their friendship mending with time's gentle stitch. He dragged Ryan to poetry slams at the Hole in the Wall, where verses on lost loves and found selves roared under red lights. Spill it, Theo urged after one night. As they split a pitcher at Cain and Abel's, the pubs would paneling absorbing confessions. Joe's chapter closed. What's next? Ryan traced foam rings on the table. Not sure. Dating apps feel like homework. Maybe just me. Theo's grin flashed wicked. Good. Self-love's the hottest plot twist. Winter break brought Ellen's visit. The airport reunion awkward joy. Her Midwestern parka shedding snowflakes on the baggage claim. Ryan's hug pulling her close. They toured the Blanton Museum. Her gasps at the moderns a delight. Like emotions splashed on canvas. Dinner at Uchi. Sushi rolls a revelation. Fancy fish sticks. Eased into talks of dad. Long vanished in Denver. Her regrets a river carving canyons. You're happy here, she observed, chopsticks poised. That glow. It's them, your people. Us, Ryan corrected gently. You're part of it now. Christmas Eve, they strung lights on a Charlie Brown pine, bulbs twinkling as a Charlie Brown Christmas played, her tears during Linus's monologue mirroring his own. They'd be proud, she whispered, nodding at the quilt draped over the couch. Of all of us. New Year dawned crisp, resolutions whispered over mimosas. Hers, more visits. His, submit the memoir full. MFA second semester barreled in, deadlines a blizzard, but Ryan surfaced at queer youth center events, mentoring runaways with stories that mirrored his own. The road's scary, but it leads home, whatever that looks like. Spring tiptoed in with jonquils, and a package arrived from San Francisco. Joseph's inscription in a worn copy of The Velvet Rage. For the boy who ran into his light. Always J. Ryan read it cover to cover, underlining passages on shame's shedding, closure a quiet exhale. Then came the reading, his thesis defense a packed house at the Texas Book Festival. Rows filled with classmates, Theo front row whistling, Ellen beaming from the wings. He mounted the stage, mic heavy in hand, voice steady as he read the opening. The screen door slammed like a verdict. The room leaned in, breaths held. And as he closed on redemption's fragile bloom, applause thundered, Ellen's hug post-reading fierce. My storyteller, she murmured, pride cracking her voice. After party at Joe's coffee buzzed, toasts clinking amid hugs, but Ryan slipped out early, needing air. Theo found him on the patio, city lights sprawling below. Killer night. You deserve it. Thanks, Ryan said, clinking bottles. Couldn't without you. Theo's gaze held, soft. Know that. And if you're ready, I'm here. Not as rebound, as real. The admission hung, and Ryan considered it not as replacement but possibility. They kissed under the awning, tentative then sure, Theo's hands framing his face with care. It wasn't Joseph's fire, but Theo's steadiness, a harbor after storms. Summer hummed lazy, internship at a local press editing queer anthologies. Ryan's byline popping in Texas Monthly with an essay on rural queerness. Ellen road-tripped west, Zion's red rocks a pilgrimage. God's palette, she marveled. Hand in his as they hiked Angel's Landing. Vertigo's edge a metaphor for faith's leap. Theo wove in natural. Picnics at Zilker. His drag persona Luna Lux performing at Oil Can Harry's. Ryan cheering loudest. Dates unfolded easy. Kayaking Lady Bird Lake at dawn. Theo's laugh echoing off willows. Stargazing in the Davis Mountains. Blankets tangled as meteors streaked. But pasts resurface, and Joseph's email arrived unannounced. In Austin for a conference. Coffee? No strings. Ryan's thumb hovered, then typed sure. Neutral ground. They met at Epoch, the neutral bistro's patio shaded by live oaks. Joseph older somehow. Lines etched finer, curls tamed. You look good, he said, stirring sugar into black coffee. Heard about the reading. Proud. Settled in the Bay? Ryan asked, neutral as the menu. Thriving. Got a partner, Alex, software guy. Steady. The word stung faint, but Ryan nodded, relief blooming. Talk flowed easy, old jokes resurfacing, regrets aired light. I pushed too hard, Joseph admitted. Should have let you bloom where planted. And I clung too tight, Ryan countered. Fear, not love. They parted with a hug. Lingering but final, Joseph's cab vanishing into traffic. Ryan walked home lighter, texting Theo, coffee with Ghost. All good. Fall semester loomed, but first, a trip east. Ryan's invite to a literary festival in Boston. Panels on narrative and identity. Ellen tagged along. Her first flight beyond Kansas. Nerves jangling as the plane banked over the Atlantic. Fancy? She breathed at the harbor, seals barking below. The festival whirlwind. Readings in historic halls, signings where fans gushed. Your story gave me courage. Ellen swelling with each. One night, post-panel on family reconciliation. A Q&A turned personal. How'd you forgive? A young man asked, voice trembling. Ryan glanced at Ellen, her nod permission. Not overnight. His choices daily. And grace, from them and me. Back in Austin, winds shifted, carrying whispers of change. Theo proposed cohabitation, his lease up, eyes hopeful over breakfast tacos. Build something solid? Ryan hesitated, memoir edits pending, but nodded. Yeah, let's. Winter gripped Austin gentle, holiday lights threading Congress like veins of warmth. But Ryan's world warmed truer with Theo's boxes cluttering the hall. They unpacked amid laughter, vinyl records stacked beside quilts, Theo's drag wardrobe claiming the closet like a fabulous invasion. Our kingdom, Theo declared, crowning Ryan with a feather boa, the tickle eliciting giggles long dormant. Ellen Skyped from Olathe, snow blanketing the farm behind her. Looks cozy. That boy's trouble in the best way. Her wink, once impossible, now easy, spoke volumes of bridges spanned. New Year brought resolutions communal. Joint gym memberships. A shared Google Doc for Theo's theater scripts and Ryan's novel outline. A sprawling tale of Midwestern boys chasing horizons. MFA graduation loomed, cap and gown a milestone. Ellen flying in for the ceremony. Her seat saved beside Theo's family. His parents, liberal Austinites who'd baked rainbow cookies for Pride since Theo's coming out at 12. The stage sweltered under lights, diplomas heavy as laurels. Ryan's name called to cheers. Ellen's whoop, Theo's whistle piercing. Reception blurred in hugs and champagne flutes. A publisher scout pressing cards into his palm. Send the manuscript. Later, rooftop toast at the Driscoll. City twinkling below, Ellen pulled him aside. You've built a life, son. One they'd celebrate. Grandparents' ghosts smiled in her words, and Ryan choked up, toasting to roots and wings. Postgrad haze settled, job offers trickling. Adjunct teaching at community college, freelance gigs for the Advocate. Theo landed a role in a Steppenwolf touring production. Rehearsals demanding but electric. Evenings wove domestic. Dinner experiments gone gloriously wrong. Theo's head in Ryan's lap as audiobooks droned tales of Auden and Isherwood. Yet humanity's arc bends slow, and conflict stirred subtle. A call from Olathe. Ellen's church, splintering over the GSA support, her position on the board a lightning rod. They're calling me soft, she confessed over speaker. Theo chopping onions nearby. But I won't back down. Not for you. Proud? Ryan said, and meant it, pride laced with fear, for her isolation, the farm's creaking beams her only company. Spring bloomed defiant, dogwoods defiant against late frosts, and Ryan's novel took shape. Runner's Grace, chapters emailed to agents who nibbled then bit. Theo's opening night at the Paramount shimmered. His soliloquy on lost fathers drawing standing ovations. Ryan's bouquet of peonies a post-curtain armful. But joy's underbelly is vulnerability, and betrayal's specter returned twisted. A letter arrived, anonymous envelope postmarked Olathe. Grainy photos of Ryan and Theo at Pride last year, caption Sodom in the Heartland, slurs scrawled in margins. Ellen's address circled like a threat. Panic surged, Ryan's hands shaking as he showed Theo. Church hardliners, Theo guessed, pulling him close. Jealous of her growth. Ellen confirmed over frantic call. Got one too. Vandalism on the barn. Repent in spray paint. Her voice steadied. Police involved. But Ryan, they're saying I led you astray. The accusation gutted, old wounds reopening. Ryan drove north unbidden. Theo's wait for me, echoing unanswered. Olathe greeted gray. The farm's porch light a beacon through downpour. Ellen met him sodden. Shotgun by the door, not loaded, but symbol. Won't let them scare us, she said, brewing tea strong as resolve. Dawn brought confrontation. A town hall at the church, pews packed with familiar faces twisted unfamiliar. Pastor Hale, once Ellen's mentor, thundered from the pulpit. We've tolerated too long. This lifestyle invades our homes. Ryan rose, unbidden, voice cutting the murmur. Tolerated? You mean loved? Half-assed. My grandparents did better. Loved full, no sermons attached. Gasps rippled, but eyes held. Cousins, neighbors, flickers of doubt. Ellen stood beside him, hand in his. He's right. I've seen Grace up close. Time we all did. Uproar followed, factions splintering. But as Ryan and Ellen walked out into rain-washed sun, a handful trailed. Wait, an aunt called. Tell us more. Back in Austin, Theo enveloped him, the scare a catalyst. You're a force, he murmured, kisses trailing spine. We all are. Summer crested, Ryan's novel sold modest advance but validation's rush. Book tour beckoned. First stop New York, Ellen tagging for the Empire State climb. Her awe at the skyline a mirror to his. Signings swelled. Readers sharing stories. Your running gave me legs. Fall leaves turned, and climax brewed personal. Joseph's wedding invite arrived, to Alex. In the Castro, a nod to their shared past. Ryan RSVP'd yes. Theo's hand steady in his. San Francisco shimmered fog-kissed. The ceremony under mission bells intimate. Vows exchanged in Spanish and English. Joseph's eyes meeting Ryan's across petals. A silent thank you. Reception dance joyous. Ryan and Theo twirling to it last. Ellen charming Alex's abuela with farm tales. Later, Joseph pulled Ryan aside. Champagne flutes clinking. You did it. Built without breaking. We both did, Ryan replied, peace settling like dusk. Return flight hummed contentment, but home's hearth awaited trial. News from Olathe. Church schism complete, Ellen's faction forming a new congregation. Affirming faith, rainbow banners planned. Your word started it, she emailed. Photo attached of the first service. Diverse faces aglow. Ryan's launch party for Runner's Grace-packed Malvern books. Shelves groaning under stacks. Ellen reading the dedication. To those who celebrate, and those learning to. Applause thundered. Theo's kiss post-reading a promise. Yet humanity's end isn't tidy bows, but earned quiet. Winter solstice, Ryan and Theo propose to each other. Not rings, but vows under the Austin full moon. Through runs and rests, I choose you. Ellen witnessed via video, tears joyful. Years folded forward. Novel sequels, Theo's Broadway break. Ellen's farm a haven for runaways. Her sermons on love's radical yes. Ryan, once fleeing shadows, now cast light, workshops for queer youth. Essays in the New Yorker on forgiveness's freight. One dawn, porch swing creaking, Theo's head on his shoulder. Ryan traced the quilt stitches. We made it, he whispered to ghosts and gods. Theo stirred, smile sleepy, and keep making. In America's vast heart, where prairies meet horizons, love isn't a finish line. It's the endless road, paved with grace.